Welcome to Women Winning Their Way. I'm your host, Clara Capano, and this is where we talk about how professional women are going to create success all on their terms. We have a powerful interview going on today. And before I bring my guest on, let's talk a little bit about success because one of the biggest components to creating success is understanding that none of us can do it on our own. We need a support system. But what do you do when the one person who's supposed to be your biggest supporter ends up becoming someone who actually wants to tear you down, not just mentally, but also physically? So let's go ahead and welcome in my guest, Aurea McGarry. Aurea, thanks so much for being here today with us.
Hey, Claire, it's so good to be here with you. Congratulations on your new revised show, because I know you've been a show host for many, many years. You're amazing, and I'm just so glad to be one of your guests on your show. So let's
Absolutely.
do this.
So before we dive into this, you are a force of nature. You have created not just one business, but several business. You have your own TV show and you are an Emmy Award winning TV host. You are an author and you have just done so many things. So before we dive into your story and talking about building a solid support system, why don't you go ahead and just introduce yourself a little bit to us?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I love to. Well, I am an Emmy Award winning TV show host. I produced and created my own television show, trained actress by trade growing up in New York City. So I was in my wheelhouse, but I had never done my own show before. And I did that back in 2007, 8, right after I wrote my book. And so glad I did because it was spotlighting good people, making the world a better place. It turned into lots of Tellys and Davy Awards. I got my feet wet in the producing, directing world, as well as hosting it. Went on to do live events, which was also honoring nonprofits and helping entrepreneurs earn more so they can live more, so they can give back more to their favorite charities. And I love introducing people to great charities and great people. So even fast forward, now I'm a network owner. I'm on a television network, which you're a part of, which they're probably watching on right now, the Limelight Network.
Absolutely.
So fun. And then I got invited to be a TEDx speaker. So I just love especially helping women. That's why I'm so excited for your show, Clara, because you've been doing this a long time. And I met you. I said, oh, perfect fit, because I really want to help women keep working towards their dreams after 40, after 50, and yes, after 60, because I didn't even dawn the TEDx stage until I was 60. And then there's so much more ahead of me now. And I always think of people like Betty White, who's one of my mentors. I just loved her.
Mhm.
She was doing sitcoms. She was doing her craft well into moving into her 90s. And then I think she did Saturday Night Live hosting, in her 80s. So
Oh,
don't
I
tell
know.
me you're too old. That's much.
Exactly. And I just love her. And, when you and I met a couple months ago, with your name, you introduced yourself by saying, my name basically says a ray of sunshine, because that's how you pronounce it. And you truly are that ray of sunshine. And I am so excited. So let's start diving into this. You know, we know that we need success, and you have become such a strong mentor as you're talking about. And we will dive into more of some of the projects that you're working on to help women, again, not only make more, but live more and be able to give more. But that wasn't always the case for you. You are a domestic violence survivor. And, you were living that where, again, in your home, the support wasn't really there for you. So share a little bit about your journey and, your experience with not always having the cheerleader on the home front that we need.
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh, it seems like a lifetime ago. That was way back in my early 20s. And I was in a domestic violence relationship for like 7 years. And during that time, I've been a mompreneur for like 38 years. And what drives us as mothers in business is our kids, I believe. And when I needed to win a car and have more money, and I knew that the person I was with wasn't that person to ask, was not a team player, was very aggressive and abusive, that, I was living in fear. I knew I needed to do something. So you always need to find a mentor. So sometimes we need to hire a mentor, but sometimes it's a friend or another family member. In that case, in those years, I went to my mom. My mom was my best friend. She was my cheerleader. And I didn't tell her about the domestic violence. I told her about I wanted to start a business. And back in the day, wanted to start Mary Kay because I needed a car, I needed cash. the only way I could see myself ever getting that, either win the lottery, right? Or I remember they gave away free cars in Mary Kay, and I wondered if I could win one. So I don't do it anymore, but it changed my life because not only did it allow me to win that car in a year and use that company car as a getaway car from domestic violence, gave me cash in my bank account, and money buys you choices. It truly does. But it
Mhm.
also gave me the self esteem that I needed to make these choices and walk out. But it gave me a world of sisterhoods, all these women that had my back and were supporting me. So if you don't have a support system, my advice to you today, Claire, for your viewing audience and listeners, is to create one. Find one, whether you have to go to your church, your temple, your neighbor, you find a support system. You find somebody that can cheer you on if you're down, because eventually you'll cheer other people on. But when you're down, it's important. Don't stay down alone. Create support
Absolutely. And
system.
I'm so glad that you brought that up. And the idea that sometimes we have to go out there and create it for ourselves. It doesn't
Absolutely.
always, come to us. And that's one of the things that I work on really sharing when I'm both speaking as well as, coaching people is the idea that you've got to, again, surround yourself with the people that are going to help you become the best version of yourself. And sometimes they can be your friends, as you mentioned, mentors, or they can even be coworkers. And one of the things that I try to do is I have people in different areas. So I have that person who always makes me laugh. So she's my supporter on the days that it's hard to laugh. I have my mentors like you who support me in things with business, like launching my TV show. I have my supporters on, the networking side of it. So, talk a little bit, if you can, about what are some of the tips that you can encourage, women to do as they are building their support system. You went to Mary Kay and you joined the sisterhood, but what are some tips that some women can do to help them build their support system and also leverage that support system for success?
Well, it's different and the same now. There's a lot of things that are different now. Now, back in the 90s, yeah, I know my age is showing. We didn't have social media. We didn't have a lot of the things we have now. Even like we all love Clubhouse and the audio apps or LinkedIn audio and all these new ones coming out every 5 seconds, where you literally can find mentors and friends in the industry that you need. Like Clara, I'm so glad you said that. You have somebody that makes you laugh. Well, let's say you needed someone to make you laugh. We have YouTube. We can go watch comedy. We can go to Clubhouse and we can search comedians. We can talk to a comedian. We can find people. But back in the day, it was about going in person to networking events, going to your chamber of commerce, going to your Kiwanis Club, going to Toastmasters, really making the effort to put yourself out there and not sit home alone. I used to be a matchmaker as well. I used to be a matchmaker for Great Expectations. And when people are trying to find love, it's the same thing. You can't just sit home and pray about, Lord, find me the perfect match and
Mhm.
sit home and eat bonbons. You
Right.
got to go out there. And my advice to those looking for love, or whether you're looking for new clients or looking for friends, is go out and do the things you love. Then you will find other people that love that as well. And I've learned over just the last decade also to add to that piece of piece of pie is volunteer.
Mhm.
If you want to volunteer at your food bank, at your local school's food closet, or at the local shelter or at the animal shelter, if you volunteer and be of help to others, one, it gets yourself off of your own problems, but you find other people that care about that same thing.
Mhm.
In that community, you'll find friends, you'll find all sorts of different people from all walks of life that are also helping on that. Do a walkathon, a triathlon, whatever it is that you love to do, and get yourself out there to allow the world to be in front of you so you can make new friends, find new mentors, find new people,
Mhm.
find new love. But you're not going to do it. As we learned during the pandemic, staying home alone is not good for anybody. It's not good for your
Right.
mental health. You need to get out there. So walk out your door and say, if nothing else, go volunteer
Mhm.
somewhere where you feel a calling. I really want to help that charity. Go
Yeah.
do it. You never know what I don't know what God's going to do, but He's going to do something. So walk
Exactly,
away.
exactly. And I love what you talk about with the idea of, again, you have to get out and get connected. I always tell people in my trainings that, you know, connection is part of our basic human needs. We have food, clothing, shelter, but that need for true human connection, because we are social beings. And you're right, we need to get out there. I do want to ask you two questions. The first question I want to ask you is, so what do you do? Because you face this, head on. You had your spouse who was not being the supporter that you need to. And whether it's our spouse, it could be our family members, it could be our boss, but sometimes we get to a chapter where that person is no longer being the support that we need them to be. How do you get yourself out of a situation when that support is no longer supporting you?
Mhm. Well, in my case, he was never supporting me and forbidded me to do the business. Mary Kay forbidden me every step of the way. That's a whole nother story. But here's the mindset piece, that if you need something bad enough, or you want something bad enough, especially as women, we will find a way, especially if it's something good. And what mine was is I wanted to put my daughter in Christian private school. And I had 1 year before she was going to enter into kindergarten. And I needed a car. So I found a solution to making more money for the school, which he forbid me to do. Every step of the way, he forbid me. But I was like, how old are we? Right? It's like, even though I was in my 20s, I wasn't 12. This was not, my parent. I was of legal age. I didn't want to go against him, but my why was so big that you can forbid me all day long. I wanted good education for my daughter at the time, and I needed a car because I was thinking, I'm almost 30 and I have to ask to borrow the car. I have to ask. And so I got to that point where we all have that different point where enough is enough. I wasn't even looking for a divorce. I wasn't looking for a way out. I was just looking for a better life for myself and my daughter. And I was going to do whatever it took. And women, we do that. You need food on the table, and whoever you're with is not providing it. You're going to make that happen. We're resilient. We're problem solvers. We're multitaskers. So your why has to be bigger than the problem. So if your why is bigger than problem, you will find a solution. Not always easy. If you're in domestic violence, 3 women a day die at the hands of someone who's supposed to love them. Again, that's a whole different show, different topic. But don't do that alone. When I did escape, I didn't do it alone. My mom was right there with me every step of the way. I didn't know she was going to be when that day came. And I decided I'd rather be alone with my daughter than being screamed at every day. And I had money in the bank and a car. Again, I'm going to repeat myself, Clara. Money buys you choices.
Yeah.
So go out and make more, earn more, get more, whatever you have to do. If you're sitting in a situation and you're stuck because you don't have money to get out. And there are now nonprofits to help you out of situations. In the early 90s, I didn't even have a way to tap into nonprofits. We didn't have the internet back then. Only place I knew about was a safe house around, but I didn't even know how to get a hold of them back in the day. So I just ran to a hotel that, I just kind of hid, but now there's so many more resources, so many more ways to find support and help that you may need. And that's one reason I love nonprofits. They're there to help, and you can find a nonprofit that'll help any situation these days.
Right.
So reach out.
So how do you suggest that, women, we've talked about how we identify and find support, but let's talk about how we can start to leverage that support, because nobody wants to necessarily be quote unquote sold to. So I don't want to just show up to a networking group and be like, hi, I'm Clara, I'm great, you should hire me. How can we start to share our goals, our vision in an appropriate way, but also start to tap in and leverage those supporting relationships to get us to our goals?
Oh, wow. We were just talking about this morning on Clubhouse, and I was teaching a whole thing about this, that you never think about what you're selling, and you're going to a networking event to sell something. You have something in your life. It's different if you're looking for a job. That's going to be a different conversation. But let's say you're in a business, whatever it is that you need to sell, right? Mm-hmm. People love to buy. They don't like to be sold to. So if you're selling something, whether it's your services, your coaching, your product, whatever it is, you're doing it hopefully because you love it. You use the product yourself. You've benefited from the service and product yourself. And now you want to give it out to the world to serve, to help. Mm-hmm. So if you go to every networking event with the opportunity to learn about others first, what do? You really, because you never know who you're going to meet that could also help you, but then to serve. Because what they're going to do is ask you, well, Clara, what do you do? Well, I'm glad you asked. I have this product or service that solves this problem. Don't try to sell to them. Tell them and share with them the problem that you solve, the pain that you relieve. If they want more information, they will ask you. So
Mhm.
never throw up on people, but ask them what they do, what they like, what their hobbies are, what brings them here, things like that. Then they will in turn ask you, so what is it that you do? What brings you here? And
Mhm.
then
Yeah.
do it that way. Don't say, well, I'm selling Mary Kay or I'm selling. No, I help people, whatever it is your problem solving is. I
Right.
help people look young. I help women look more younger, more beautiful, and fight aging. And I help them with their makeup on their special event days because I do photography makeup.
Mhm.
Boom, stop, and then stop there. If they
Exactly.
want more, they'll ask you.
I love that you do that because that is exactly what I talk about when I am speaking and training is the idea that it has to be more about them than
Oh,
about you.
yes.
And you really again just exemplify that so much is the idea of asking those questions. Again, find out what are they struggling with. And I love to be able to when I'm having, a virtual coffee or again going into a networking, my whole goal and mission is who can I support in here? Who can I
Yes.
connect in
How can
here
I
with
serve?
somebody else?
Yes.
And I know that when I do that, and a lot of it, I don't know if you've ever read the book The Go Giver by Bob Berg, but they talk about this. It's the law of value that the more that you deliver in value, you don't have to worry about the amount coming back to you in payment. So
Hmm.
I love that because it resonates exactly with what is in my heart space.
Yes.
And, again, be curious when you go to these because I know some people are introverts. And what I always tell them is again, you don't need to go there to necessarily talk about yourself. Have genuine curiosity for others.
Yeah.
Ask those questions. Listen. We're always given two ears and one mouth for a reason. Let's ask those questions and listen so we can determine how we can best serve others because it always comes back to us.
Absolutely. But then on the other hand, too, I know some people are introverts and they don't like the selling part of it, but you do have to take action. You
Mhm.
do have to, like, you can't just be totally service and never sit in the corner and let anybody know what you do. So when you are asked, so what do you do? Have a really good answer where you're not fumbling over your words. I do this and then throw up on them, everything you do. Have a very specific, strategic answer. And I don't like saying elevator pitch, but this is the product I have. Here's the pain I solve. Thank you for asking. But be
Mhm.
clear. More is not better when you're at a networking. Telling them everything you do is not better. So confusing to people because we're meeting a lot of people, whether you're on a Zoom networking event or whether you're in person. If you throw up on people and tell them five different things you do, they're not going to remember any of them. You have to show up with one thing that you do. So at the end of that meeting, that network, they remember you as the Mary Kay lady, or they remember you as the realtor, or they remember you as the financial broker, or they remember me as the TV show host, network president. They remember you for what you want right now. You can lead them down other paths later, but get that low hanging fruit. What's the
Mhm.
one thing you want everybody to remember you for at that meeting and do that one thing?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, a confused mind does nothing and they won't remember anything that you do.
Exactly. So let's go back to, what we were talking about, the idea of again, when someone is no longer becoming a support for you, what do you think you are some strategies to either talk with them or how do you extradite yourself from that situation when maybe you've outgrown that mentor or that networking group?
Well, that's kind of a couple different questions. It's the difference between how you separate yourself from somebody you're living with or married to versus how you fire a coach or a mentor versus how you stop going to a networking event. So I can tap on all three. If it's a family member and it's the spouse, that's a personal decision. That I there was no helping mine. It was not a good situation at all. And I was trying to fix him the whole nine yards. So I had to escape. And that took a support system, took my mama's support system, the Mary Kay ladies' support system, cash in my bank account, and a car to do it with. And it all just started taking shape as I put one foot in front of the other. Don't try to eat the elephant all at once. Just start working on what do I need if you're not happy. And counseling and getting counseling. Absolutely. Go to your church, go to your temple, go wherever you go for spiritual counseling and get that as well. So that's a sensitive situation right there. But if you're in danger, then get whoever you need to help you get out of danger. Because like I said before, 3 women a day die from the hands of somebody supposed to love them. So there's that
Right.
fine line. Not supporting is different than being in danger. So if it's not supporting, another thing we should tell our women too that we're living with somebody who just wasn't supportive, it's nothing dangerous and not abusive. They're just like, yeah, yeah, what are you into now? And they're just more negative. Then you win them over by being successful.
Mm.
Sometimes the women would have to say, honey, will you give me 6 months? Will you help me? Will you just kind of be there a little bit more for the kids, or let me go out and do some networking events? Well, you're not let me go out, but would it, can we work as a team for 6 months and let me show you, prove to you I can make money? Like, say you want to go to realtor school, or you want to do something, it's going to take some of your time away from the house. If you can say, can we work as a team? Can I go out here and do this so we can benefit the family? Give me 6 months to show that it can be profitable. Not 6 months to be a millionaire, but 6 months to show that I can earn money doing this. So if you can work with that person as a team, say, can we do this? Let me try. That would be great. Instead of just trying to do it, and spend, be more strategical about it and get the family in as a dynamic, and not just mom's, what is she doing? Where's mom now? Why isn't mom home for dinner? It's more of like, oh gosh, I know mom can do it. This is so exciting. I'm rooting her on. She went back to school. She's going to school at night. Then everybody gets in on it if it's a team effort. So that's a fun thing. You need to fire a mentor or a coach. Really, what you do when we these days, when you hire mentors and coaches, you usually do it for a season. It's a 3 month program or a 6 month program. I always say, before you hire somebody, take a small bite. Get into a workshop, get into a 3 day, get into a 1 month, 3 month, but always have the exit strategy up front. Don't hire a coach just ongoing for years if you've never worked with them. Once you like them and they're really beneficial, you guys get along, then you can say, I need you in my life forever. I need you like at least for this year. And that's when you sign on to that. So there should never be a firing. It's just, okay, 3 months is over. I'm going to move on. Thank you. You did your job. I'm so much better off now. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
And then network events is something you can go to as many as you want before you join a, let's say, women's group. Make sure you get to go as a guest as many times as you are allowed to before joining and signing the dotted lines. But even women's group, a networking group, whatever the community is, you can always stop at any time. It's like any subscription. It's $20 a month. You get all these perks. You get to come to lunch with them after you visited 1 or 2 times. But usually you can cancel anytime, and that's usually not a big deal. Everybody comes and goes, and that's just part of the business. So
Mm.
never feel bad about it if you've outgrown something or you're not getting benefit from it. But you've got to stick with things, though, long enough to see benefit. Don't just pop in and say, gosh, I didn't get anything out of that. You have to
Absolutely.
become part of the community. And that takes months for people to get to know, like, and trust you. There's
Right.
no more instant anything. People want to get to know, like, and trust their realtor, their mortgage broker, their financier, their
Mhm.
cannabis dealer, whatever it is.
Exactly. They're hairdressers.
Your hairdresser, yeah. So you can't just pop,
Mhm.
pop, visit, 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 but then find the people that you really think you resonate with, then stick with it for 6 months, stick
Yeah.
with it for a year, and see what happens, because it's those bonds that can make all the difference. And when they get to know
Absolutely.
you, they can refer you as well. People there might not be a great fit for you, but they know people, or when you're getting referrals.
Yeah. Two of the things I really love that you hit on as you were going over those is one, again, having a strategy, and two, understanding that you're going to evolve. And I love how you put it that there's different seasons. We have to embrace that human evolution that we go to. And one of the things that I really try to impart on the people that I work with is, again, put your plan together. I like to always call it a success plan, not just a business plan, but what are the goals you want? And then find the people that can support you in those goals, and then revisit it, like you said, every quarter, every 6 months, every year, so that you're making sure that the people that you're asking for help from and that you're working to get in alignment with are the ones that can help you get to where you want to go. So I think it's really important to, again, bring that strategy into it. You don't just want to throw something up against the wall. Again, think about it, because there could be great people in these networking groups, but that doesn't mean they're going to be the ones to help you achieve what you want to achieve. So I think, those are two really powerful things. So thank you for those. I want to switch gears a little bit now and go on to the home front, because as you mentioned, you have your family, you have been a mompreneur. I know for me, I have my son who is now 18, and I've been a single mom since he was 2 years old.
Wow.
We talked about getting support from networking groups and more on a professional level. How do we get support on the home front? What are some things that you have done to get your children to buy into what you're doing and support you along the way?
Oh, that's easy. Well, I say that's simple. All along the way, and I've raised two daughters. One now is like in her 30s. I won't say the age; she'll kill me. And my other one's just turned 18. And both times, I mean, they've seen me go through direct sales, leave direct sales, go into writing my book, to starting my television show, winning all these awards, all along the way. And what you do is you incorporate them in everything. Let them know that what you're working on. I work late nights. I would travel and do my shows. I'd have them involved. Sometimes they would come with me. My older daughter did my wardrobing and she put my makeup on. And if you can, even if they want nothing to do with your actual business, having those family dinners at night or having go out to dinner to order Chinese, I don't care how you get the food, but eat together and let them know what your goals are and then find out what their goals are. And every time I had a goal, obviously you need monetization. So if I win the pink Cadillac, here's what you can have. If you can continue in your private school, you can get that car you want. It's like what's in it for them is just as important for the kids and husband, if you have one husband as well, because it's what is the benefit to us as kids and family every time mom goes out the door? Mm-hmm. And when they're little, we used to have, the big piggy banks. They would make their own jars, their own piggy bank, and put their goals on it. And every time we as moms would go out and do a Mary Kay party, or I'd go out and do a TV show, or have to go out and be a speaker or whatever. When I come back, I put money in the jar. Mm-hmm. Say here, that's because I was able to do that. I was able to, they don't care how you got your client, whatever. I was able to make money, period. It's all I care about on that front. Put some money in there. If they're little and they want a tricycle, you're putting in $1. If they're older and they're middle school or teenager, you're letting them know, hey, I'm chipping in for your car. I'm chipping in for your college. I'm chipping in for someday want their Nintendo set, whatever it is. But find out what they want and chip into it physically. They know you're there to provide all their needs. But when it's a literal goal box and you're putting in money saying, because I went out, I was able to make more. I'm putting in $50 towards your car. So they see mom making money, see it going towards your stuff. But get them involved however you do it. Let them know that when mom's successful, everyone's successful.
And I think that is so powerful. And I find so many women hold back on sharing those goals because they think that either their kids won't understand or, they don't really care. And what I have found on my personal is the same thing that you have found. My son is one of my greatest cheerleaders. He loves to see what I'm doing. He loves to be a part of it. And I started sharing my goals with him probably when he was about 7 or 8 years old. I mean, when he was 2 and 3, he didn't necessarily get it as much, but I still incorporated so many of the things that you're doing as well. My background has been a lot in real estate. So it was for every deal, help me. He had to go on showings with me. So I taught him how to work lock boxes. If my clients had kids, he was in charge of sort of watching the kids. And I would pay him, $50 for each of them.
Oh, that's great because they do what you do anyway. Why shouldn't they see mom being a productive business owner?
Exactly.
Why shouldn't they see mom going out to work and coming back and running a business that's not 9 to 5? 9 to 5 is fine, but if that's not you and you have to work late, don't feel guilty. Incorporate them in it. And I taught my daughter, who's my older daughter now, when she was 4, I used to have these stairs and come down and I'd be on the phone, the old-fashioned phone that was attached to the wall, so I couldn't go anywhere, right? And she knew, I taught her at 4 years old, when she comes running down the stairs to look to see if I'm on the phone, because they did a lot of sales call back in the day, and she would look, and if mommy was on the phone, she knew to come down quietly and wait to ask for whatever it was. And I saw her, so I would wrap things up as fast as I could, and then she would ask me. So they learn skills that we teach them. They don't have to be wild animals in our house, right? They can know the rules. They can know what it's like to be quiet or to be still. I used to take my little girl, my older daughter now, on Mary Kay parties with me, and she would sit still. She'd help me set up the trays. She would sit still and quiet and watch all the makeovers. She is amazing at makeup to this day, far surpassed me, right? Mm-hmm. But it was just the fact of learning respect, learning teamwork, learning all of that. Mm-hmm. And so no matter what you do, you can incorporate your children helping you in any way, shape, or form. And they do learn early. And we taught them a long time ago, they will do what you do, not what you say. And if they see mom happy, mom having a thriving career, mom making money, mom, whatever, they'll learn at their age level what mom does, of course, but they'll learn, wow, I saw my mom work. Even if your mom, if you're a waitress or you're working 24-hour shifts or you're working doubles, whatever, they see mom working hard, coming home and providing for the family. And those kids are going to grow up. The boys are going to marry somebody like mom that works hard, that knows how to sacrifice to put food on the table. And the girls are going to become hard workers. So however it is that you're working and bringing in money to your family and supporting them, they're going to see that. So, don't feel guilty for that. Incorporate, let them know you had a bad day. Let them know at age level appropriate.
Right.
Let them know,
Mhm.
don't. So back in the old days, it was never talk to your kids about money. Just let them,
Mhm.
now it's about incorporate because, they're smart
They
and they
are.
can be successful much younger these days too, doing, making their own. My daughter used to make slime. My daughter used to make all the, we
Yep.
used to paint rocks and raise money for charities
Mhm.
at 6 years old to create her own business. My charity rocks and painted rocks and sold them at my summits, raised thousands of dollars for charities at 6 and 7 years old because
Mhm.
she wanted to help.
Yeah, it's so powerful. As women in business, so many of us, and you are a great example of this, we have so many things going on. You run multiple businesses in addition to having your family. One of the things that I spend most of my time doing when I'm working with people is helping them get their schedule together so that it supports them. I think so many times, again, you mentioned it, the 9 to 5 can be great, but it's not always the way it's going to work for us. So, the importance of putting a schedule together that really supports us, our goals, and the vision that we have. And then, what I also encourage them to do is to share their schedule every week with their support team, especially on the home front. So, everyone knows when you're available, when you're going to be there. And then again, show up and be present when you are committing to being there for them, just like you talked about with dinner and having dinner together. What are some things you do to support you and some of the key success traits you have in learning how to manage successfully all the different plates that you're balancing?
Well, that's it in a nutshell. I have lived and thrived with the weekly plan sheet. I learned that many years ago, probably 40 years ago. And it has been the most important tool in my toolbox, having that weekly plan sheet to the point that with, even nowadays, and my daughter, my 18-year-old daughter now, would say, she knows that she can try and say, oh, can we go to lunch today? But she's going to know getting mom like in the last minute, it's going to be a little more hard. Sometimes it works, but she knows, hey, you want to go to lunch this week? When can we go? You want to do dinner? You want to do a movie? Like we're all going to go see the Barbie movie tomorrow night, right? So a couple of days ago, we got the tickets. Everybody got off. So I've cleared my schedule for to do I take Tuesday night off every week? No, a lot of times I'm podcasting Tuesday nights or whatever I'm doing. But if you get me in advance, my family knows want to do something on a Wednesday afternoon or a Thursday morning, I can do anything you want if I know in advance. So they've learned, and they also have a schedule like that. They learn when to do their homework, when to let their schedule know when they can do fun things, everything, whether they want to do something fun, something for themselves, whether they want to work, but everything is an appointment for the most part in order to get mom on the schedule. And
Mhm.
it sounded funny back in the day, but now everybody's doing it because how can you make sure I'm going to be free on Friday if you don't say, hey, can you be free on Friday? There's this thing I want to do to our concert. I can be free for anything for the most part with if you give me enough advance notice. Even with my girls, it can just be a couple of days or a week. But yeah, I'll clear up. That's the beauty of being an entrepreneur. To be able to say, oh, I'm taking that day off. I don't have to
Mhm.
ask anybody. I just need advance notice to clear the schedule. So I
Right.
don't book a podcast or an interview or work on that day. But I'll make it up on the front and the back. That means I'll work harder the day before, the day after, whatever. And that's okay. Because I'll do
Mhm.
anything to be with my family and my girls. So I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
So
I
it
always tell
stops
people
the
that
guilt too. It
yeah, I
stops
always
the
tell
guilt.
people that when they are putting their week together, the very first thing that they should put into their schedule is their life. Because the number one reason most of us don't have a life is because we don't plan for a life. And again, like you said, life becomes an appointment. All of those times with ourselves to go to yoga, to take a downtime, to be with our kids, to be have a date night, all of those things need to be in our schedule and need to be an appointment.
Yes, and with women too, especially because you and I we deal with a lot with women. It can also be the worst. Being your own boss can be the best thing that happened to you and the worst thing that happened to you because
True.
you can have too much life on that schedule, and it's
Mhm.
easy to procrastinate making those calls and doing the income producing activities. So I do the opposite. I tell my clients, I said, put in your income producing activities first. Start the day with those. Now you already know if you're going to take Sunday off or Saturdays for family, or every night you can be home for dinner. You know your priorities. That's fine. But before you do anything, if you want this business to work, whatever you're doing, get those income producing activities on your schedule. Now start making sure you have time for the other things as well. Even though we believe faith first, family second, career third, but that career has to be third. It can't be when I get around to it.
No,
If you want it to work. And an income producing activity, the little formula I've used is if you have 5 income producing activities on your schedule, 5, you have a hobby. And an income producing activity is an activity, not shuffling papers, not on social media. It's when somebody can swipe the credit card with you. So it's a phone call, a Zoom call, a meeting. It's where you actually could have a sale during that time. Okay. If you do 5 of those appointments a week, you have a hobby. If you do 10, you have a part-time business. If you're willing to do 15 income producing activities where you're able, like for me with the Limelight Network, where I'm telling 15 people a week about you could be a part of the Limelight Network and you could join, we could go through the application process and it could be a yes at the end of this. That's an income producing activity.
right.
So whenever you're showing a house, that's an income producing activity. Okay.
Right.
So 15 of those a week, you've got a full-time 6-figure income.
Absolutely. And you're 100% spot on right that you have to first identify what are going to be the right income producing activities. And you have to schedule those because so many of us want the result, but we don't get the result unless we do the right work. And so, again, you have to do those and treat them as an appointment and show up for those.
There's a movie I love. It's an older movie, but if you want to recharge your ability to make the impossible happen, and you want to be inspired to say, "Hey, if he can do it, I can do it." I love the movie Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith.
So good.
I mean, if this goes to show you want it bad enough, I mean, sleeping in the bathroom, having nothing, and running from appointment to appointment, and picking up, being a single dad, just everything he did went against him. And not only to become successful, I mean, running his own company, becoming everything he could be, but he couldn't have had it any worse than he did. And you just feel, but you look at that and you say, if he can do that, and it's a true story, what am I complaining about? Right? I mean, he got it down to a science where he didn't even hang up the phone in between calls. He did the dialing, but he wouldn't even hang it up. He just click it, do it, because he ended up getting 6 more calls done a day by not making the effort to hang up and pick up. I mean, what are you willing to do differently or better or more efficiently? And you're the productivity expert, Clara. What is that one thing that could make you more productive this week? And it could be as simple as, I don't do this, I do this instead, or I wake up 5 minutes earlier. What if it was 5 minutes earlier every single day and you got one extra thing done every single day towards your goal?
Exactly.
Whatever, towards your health. Yeah.
I love that. So what I want to do now is highlight you a little bit. You have so many exciting things going on, and your whole goal is, again, to help people, make more, live more, and give more. So what are some of the things that you are working on right now to help you achieve your dreams?
Oh, Claire, it's so sweet to ask. I love what I'm doing right now. I've been podcasting for 3 years. I've been a TV show host for over 10 years. And it all came about last year, being able to own and run my own network, the Limelight Network, which you might be watching this show on right now. Clara, your show is everywhere, including my network now. I'm so excited. And finally, I'm so glad to be able to take all my experience in television. I'm a judge for the Emmys and I serve on the board of governors. I love everything to do with edutainment, using television to edutain your community, whoever that may be. And having the way to say, yes, you've got a podcast, or you've got a message. Let's see if that could be a good fit, and allowing other people now to have the limelight. So I am loving giving fabulous people like yourself, Claire, the limelight to shine onto you, because you help solve a pain. You're the productivity expert. You help women thrive. It is such a blessing to me to say, I want to give you the spotlight. I want more people to hear your voice, Clara, see you and learn from you. And it's just a thrill and a joy. And I love it at this stage of my life that I'm able to turn on and give back. And it's also my business, because I do a lot of charity work too. We love giving back. That's great. But it's even more fun too, when you can make your income, your business, something that you love that also is a give back at the same time. So you're feeding your family and giving back both same time, and you love and waking up. It's such a good thing. So I'm always looking for more talent now, people that want more people to know the problem that they solve.
Yeah.
So I'm very big into edutainment, that they come in and they have a great show that solves a problem or is entertaining, makes people laugh, makes them think, makes them, inspires them.
Mm.
So there's just a lot of room on it now for a lot of cool things to happen. So I'm just really glad about that. Thank you for
Yeah.
asking.
You are just doing amazing things. And we're going to put all your contact information and also your information on your network, which again is the Limelight Network on E360 TV. I have one more question that I want to ask you as we bring it to a close. But before we do that, I just want to acknowledge you. You and I were introduced probably about 6 weeks ago, and you have been such a tremendous gift to me
Oh,
as well as to the other people. I am
right back at you.
I I am evolving, and I will just say, you exemplify everything you speak about. There has not been one day where I haven't reached out to you to say, "Hey, can I get some help on this?" And you have been there for me. So when you talk about, really helping people level up and create the life that they want, you are doing that and you are impacting lives and, really helping people do it so that they can share their voice. And I just appreciate and honor you so much. So thank you for being one of my supporters and thank you for being a ray of sunlight to me.
My pleasure. Right back
Yeah.
at you. You're amazing to work with.
So the last question I have for you as we bring all this to a close is, we're talking about creating success on our terms as professional women. As you sit here today, what is your definition of success now?
Wow. That changes over the decades. I'm older now, right? And success, and when I was little, I want to be rich and famous movie star. I have changed. I have grown. Success now to me, by far, is being happy. I think we've been through so much, all of us, the world as a community, just the last couple of years. And we've got to revisit, what are we working for? What are we striving for? It could all be over in a second. We lost a lot of people during the pandemic, like instantaneously. Young people were just gone and you didn't realize, wow. And we could be working 9 to 5 or working 24/7. And we really took a step back, say, are we happy? And I've met so many people through these last 3 years that actually have a business on how to be happy, how to
Mhm.
be how to have that mental health that we need. So success by far is, are you happy? Are you living a happy, fulfilled life? Money will come, we'll feed our families, but are you happy? Do you get joy every day? Yeah, we'll have good days and bad days, but success to me is happiness. And are you sharing happiness with others? I love giving back to charities, whether it's my time or giving them the spotlight. Are you doing for others? So are you happy? And are you bringing happiness to others? I think that's success over anything else, because that's a life worth living if you're happy and you're sharing happiness.
Absolutely. And I think that that is a perfect way to end our segment today. So, again, Aria, thank you so much for all of you out there that are looking to, really share your voice. And if you want to create your own show and get out there and be able to spread that joy and happiness, definitely reach out to Araya. She will help you get started with that. And I appreciate you so much for following my show, Women Winning Their Way. And remember, keep showing up each and every day. Follow your joy, follow your passions, and remember, you can create success and do it all on your terms. I'm Clara Capano, and I'll see you next time. What an amazing episode that was. We covered so many powerful points. And what I want to do now is just share a few moments of clarity with you. Right now we are in the time of the year where we're getting ready to go back to school. And we know that going back to school can not only be challenging for our kids, but it also can be challenging for us and our productivity. Our schedules change, the demands change, and we have to get real because if we want to move out of the chaos and maintain that harmony, we've got to do things a little differently. So, as you get ready to go back to the school year, and these are tips that you can use throughout the year as you go into the holidays, all of those things. The first thing that I encourage you to do is to really be honest. Before you put your schedule together, what does your week need to look like? Where does your focus need to go? And more importantly, what are your available hours of operations? When my son was younger, I knew that I took him to school and I picked him up from school. So when he was home for the summer, I could easily start my day at 7 or 7:30 because he was sleeping, watching cartoons, doing whatever he needed to do. But now that it's back to school time, I need to get him to school, so I need to make some adjustments because now my day is probably not going to start until closer to 8:30, and I also need to end my day as far as professional appointments at about 2:30 so I can pick him up by 3:15. So your days are going to need to adjust. So get honest. It is not about the hours that you have, it's about how you use those hours. So get really clear on your hours of operations. Start knowing what makes sense. If you do need to do some work later in the day after school pickup, block out that time from maybe 2:30 to 4 and use that time as an appointment to be mom, to be there with your kids to do what you need to do. And then look at what might be appropriate. For some of you, you may be coming home and you can jump back into work and do some afternoon appointments between, say, 4 and 6. Some of you may have to take your kids to events like gymnastics, soccer, all of those practices. Can you do some things at the practice field? A really good friend of mine, Maria, what she would do is pick her boys up and then they would go to baseball or football or hockey. So, what she would do is she would use that time to work on admin items such as following up on emails. She also would use it as time to reach out and do connection calls. So she still would work, but she would be doing more networking items and things that didn't necessarily require her to be in an office. She could have some of the background noises going on and be a little bit more on the fly, but it allowed her to, again, find that harmony. For me, what I found is I love to have that extra time. I was a single mom, so I shared custody. So I love to have that extra time. But then when we sat down to do homework at about 6 or 6:30, that's when I would sit next to my son and I would do my homework too. So we would be working together in unison. So again, there is a way to be able to find that harmony and to keep that harmony going. But sometimes as the seasons change, so do the seasons and the chapters of your business. So make sure you are taking a pause to re identify, to adapt, and to evolve your business. Get clear on your hours of operation, get clear on what makes sense for you, and make sure that as you put your calendar together, you are not forgetting to time block your appointments, especially your appointments with yourself and your loved ones. So hopefully this moment of clarity is going to help you maintain your level of productivity, focus, and also allow you to create that harmony between your work and your life. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time for Women Winning Their Way, where we talk all about strategies to help you create success on your terms. I'm Clara Capano. I'll see you next time.